everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and today's video is going to be another episode of finishing all the book series I'm in the middle of. So before I get into the video, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read fantasy, thriller and romance books and I post videos every Sunday. So as I said, this is going to be another episode of finishing all the book series I'm in the middle of. I'm really excited for this episode actually because these are some series that I've really been loving this year and I'm really excited to finally finish them out. So the first one we're going to be finishing is the Briar You series by Elle Kennedy with The Dare. This is the fourth and final book in that series. We then have Wisdom of Crowds by Jo Abercrombie. This is the third book in the Age of Madness series and the final book currently published in the First Law universe as a whole. So this one is really exciting and I can't wait to get to this one. We then have Wildcard by Elsie Silver. This is the fourth and final book in the Rose Hill series. And then finally we have Human Rights by Juno Dawson. This is the third and final book in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series and this is the Fairy Loot edition, so it's absolutely stunning and I absolutely love the bright blue on this one. This is a series that I've been reading for a couple of years now as and when the books have been published, so I'm really excited the final book is finally out and I can read this one. Hey guys, so I'm just checking in with the first book for this vlog. So I have started reading The Dare by Elle Kennedy. This is the fourth book in the Briar You series. I'm currently just under 60% of the way through this one. So in this one we follow Connor and Taylor. Connor is a ice hockey player on the Briar You college team. Taylor is studying to become a primary school, well not a primary school teacher but like is it elementary school in America? She is studying to become a teacher and they meet one night at a party. So Taylor is a member of a sorority, very begrudgingly a member, and there's a girl called Abigail who's really horrible to Taylor and they play this game called Dare or Dare. Basically Abigail just gets to dare the girls in the sorority to do things and if they don't do it there's like consequences, and she dares Taylor to go up to Connor at this party and hook up with him essentially. And Taylor is a virgin, not that people know this because that's not really anyone's information to know, and she goes up to Connor and she sort of like whispers in his ear, she's like, please can you just go along with this and just come up to this room and I'll explain when we get up there. And he's like quite intrigued, he's had enough of girls like falling over him and she is so not interested in him, so he's kind of like what? So they go up to the room and they pretend to have sex because Abigail is literally standing outside the door. It's really weird. And then they get chatting and they decide to basically fake date because he wants to help her stick it to Abigail and he wants a fake girlfriend so that girls will stop like throwing themselves at him. So this isn't decided at the party, this is decided about a week after the party. In between them pretending to hook up and making this agreement, Connor does sleep with another girl and this girl takes a picture of Connor asleep next to her and like posts it on Instagram as like a trophy. So he's like had enough of all the girls, just basically using him as like a trophy really, and then we go from there. So we hear more about the ice hockey season at Briar U and it's just kind of fun to see Connor and Taylor develop a friendship as well. Like she's really like not interested in him at first and then he grows on her and I think she's quite reluctant to open herself up to people. I think she's so worried about getting hurt that she kind of doesn't really see that Connor is really into her, and she's definitely very insecure as well. So she describes herself as like chubby with like big boobs, but everyone around her is like, you are not fat. So she's obviously got some sort of like insecurities there and I think that definitely plays into it. So as ever with an Elle Kennedy book, I'm really enjoying this one so far. This definitely, I don't think it's my favourite of the series so far, but it's definitely like still really good. As with ever with Elle Kennedy, it's a very fast read, it's very like bingeable. I find myself I just want to read this book and finish it and just kind of find out what happens really. But yeah, there's not really too much to say about it really. It's like cute, I really do love the characters, and as ever it's really nice to see the previous characters from the other books as well and see what they're all up to now and see how they're all friends with each other. I really like how Summer, Brenna and Demi have kind of like taken Taylor in as like a friend, even though like they're fake dating, but they just want to be friends with her, and it's just really nice I think to have like a really supportive girl group when you compare to Taylor's sorority house and they're all just like, apart from one, they're all just really horrible. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens there, what happens with the relationship as well. Obviously there's going to be some sort of like third act breakup or whatever, but I'm really interested to see where this is going to go and what's going to happen to our characters and how this series is going to end. So I'm assuming there's going to be kind of like a little bit of a wrap up for all the characters as well, but we shall see. I'm going to crack back on with this one and let you guys know what I think when I finished it. Hey guys, so I have some reading updates for this vlog. So I have finished reading The Dare by Elle Kennedy, which is finishing out the Briar You series, and this one is a 3-star for me. So this one was going so well until maybe sort of the last chunk of the book where we started having some conflict between this couple. So first of all, it really felt like, upon reflection of this book, it felt like Connor, who is the male love interest, who we do get like chapters from, it felt like he was more of a side character to this story, and it was mainly focusing on Taylor, which is fine, but it's just not really how Elle Kennedy, like the vibes that Elle Kennedy gives in the other book. Second of all, I don't know if I mentioned the hockey, but like there was mentions of hockey at the beginning, and I guess maybe it was just kind of when this book is set within this series, is that we get one hockey game and that's it. So considering it's an ice hockey romance, ice hockey was really not a focus in this book. It just didn't have the same feelings as the other books because of that. I really enjoyed in the previous books where, you know, the girls go to the games to support the boys, and just mentions of hockey and things like that, and just like parties or the commiserations after the games where they win or lose and things like that, and we literally got that once and that was it. There was too much conflict in this as well. I really dislike the miscommunication trope, and the fact that it's used twice in this book from both characters just really irritated me. So we have Connor going through a situation where essentially a friend from years ago comes to him and is trying to cause trouble for him, and instead of just speaking to Taylor and telling her kind of what's, or even not what's going on, but that just something's going on and that he can't talk about it right now until it's resolved sort of thing, he just basically breaks up with her, and then she's really upset about the whole thing, and then they make up, and then she does the exact same thing. Something happens that then she, instead of speaking to Connor about it, she just breaks up with him, and it was just kind of like, oh, for God's sake, like I really hate the miscommunication trope, and I know a lot of other people do as well. So the fact that it's used twice in this book, I was just kind of like, oh, for goodness sake, like, and then it was just so ridiculous. I don't really feel like that was needed, and I think because of like Taylor being a virgin and things like that, this couple took so long to get together because it was fake dating, and then they couldn't really admit their feelings for each other. They took so long to get together to then basically straight away have lots of miscommunication. I'm just kind of like, are you even suited for each other? So yeah, this wasn't my favourite in the series. It's a 3-star for me, just because of the ending really let it down. Up until then I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the will they, won't they. I mean, obviously they will because it's a romance book, but the suspense and the drag, the slow burn of their romance, how they became friends first and things like that, I really enjoyed that. Just the ending really let this down for me, and I'm really sad because I have really enjoyed this series and I have enjoyed Elle Kennedy's hockey romances. So I have got the next series of hers, which is like the Graham Effect. I think that's the first book. I can't remember what that series is called, so I'll give it a bit of time and then I will go on and read that one. But yeah, this one was just not as good as the other ones, which is really disappointing to me. But yeah, 3 stars for this one, but I have now finished the series. And then I had started and finished reading Wildcard by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in the Rose Hill series, and now I have no more Elsie Silver to read, which is actually kind of sad because I really do love her writing, but she has got a new series coming out next year. So in this one we follow Gwen and Bash, or Sebastian, and they meet at an airport one night when their flight is cancelled. They spend the night in the airport together, just sort of like messing around, having fun, and they swap numbers, but in the sort of the tiredness of the night, Sebastian writes her number down wrong. He tries to contact her and she never responds. On this night in the airport, Bash is just returning from meeting his son for the first time. So Bash is 40 years old, and when he was 15, him and a girl slept together and she got pregnant, but he never knew about this. They just like, they slept together and then the girl left town shortly after and she never contacted him again. So he never knew that he had a son. It was only by chance that he bumped into this woman's brother and he let it slip that Sebastian had a son who is 24 years old. So Bash had just met the son on this night, and then we fast forward a couple of months and Bash is going to Trip, his son's birthday party. They are trying to build a relationship together, and it turns out that Gwen is dating Trip. Now Gwen wasn't dating Trip at the time, and Bash never said what his son's name was or anything like that, so she had no idea, and obviously as far as she was concerned he never contacted her. So they sort of very quickly realised like that the numbers were wrong and things like that, and then Gwen is at this birthday party, they talk and Bash leaves, and then we have another time jump where Gwen has moved or is living in Rose Hill temporarily to run the yoga studio. She has since split with Trip and definitely is more attracted to Bash, and that's kind of where we go from there. So like I said, Bash is 40 years old, Gwen is 27 years old, Trip is 24 years old. So it's Sun's ex-girlfriend, but they were never really in a serious relationship. Like Trip definitely thought it was more serious than Gwen did. Gwen was more of like a friends with benefits style relationship that she thought they were having. I did enjoy this one. I gave it a 4-star rating. It's not my favourite in the series. Nothing can beat Wild Eyes in my opinion, but this was still really fun. So Sebastian, or Bash, is very grumpy and Gwen is definitely like sunshine in the relationship. And I think Bash is very hurt from past things. So for example, he was married to a woman, he really wanted children, and she said that she didn't want children, so they divorced, and then a couple of years later Bash sees her with a toddler and pregnant. So he's very much like, oh, so you did want kids, just not with me. And he's very reluctant to like let people in. And we also have a lot of crazy Clyde in this as well. So Clyde is very ill and he needs a kidney transplant. Bash and him are quite friendly, and Bash gets tested and he gives Clyde one of his kidneys, and Gwen helps in looking after Clyde, and that's kind of where they bond. So Clyde is very meddlesome and he really tries to push Bash and Gwen together. So Clyde starts going to yoga with Gwen, and that's how their friendship begins. And so I did like Bash and Gwen as a couple. I just feel like the conflict between them was obviously the fact that Gwen had dated Trip as well. So Trip comes and obviously eventually discovers that they are kind of seeing each other, and Bash is very reluctant to date Gwen because he doesn't want to betray his son that he's trying so hard to build a relationship with. You know, after he's 24 years old, his son, and he has 24 years to catch up on basically, and it's really difficult. And I really did think that the conflict in here was like genuine conflict. I really don't enjoy in romance books when the conflict is very like, not fake, but very forced, or like it just wouldn't really escalate to what it is in some of these books. But this was obviously a very genuine conflict between the two of them, and I think that maybe the way it was handled and the way it resolved, I feel like Trip gave in quite quickly, and maybe I've never been in this situation, so I can't really comment on it. So I don't know if this, I guess until you're in this situation you don't know how you would react. But considering Trip, sort of one day he's making a very big deal out of it and then the next day he's fine about it, I was just kind of like, okay. But I did enjoy Bash and Gwen together. I loved seeing some of our previous couples in this, and I think that the ending where we are at Ford and Rosie's wedding, which is really nice, and the epilogue that we got, I just really liked Bash and Gwen together. I think they're really well suited. Like I said, grumpy sunshine, but he's like a sunshine for her. I don't really have too much else to say really about this one. It was just like, you know, as ever with Elsie Silver, it was very fast paced, very easy to read. There wasn't loads of smut in this one, which I kind of appreciated, because I feel like sometimes there's just too much and it goes on and on. I think this was like a really good amount of it, and yeah, it was just really fun read. I love Elsie Silver's writing, and I think this was done really well. When I knew this was like an ex-boyfriend's dad relationship, I was kind of like, how is this going to work? Because like, if you're 40, like how old is your son? How old? Yeah, I was just kind of like I was like doing the numbers, and I was like, okay, I just can't do maths. So I was thinking like, oh my god, it's like your son's 16 and you're dating like a 17-year-old at like 40, but I just can't do maths. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Really glad to finish out this series. I definitely think obviously my favourite's Wild Eyes. I think maybe then this one, Wild Love, and then Wild Side. So the second, fourth, third and first, or first and third are kind of tied for me. I really enjoyed as well the glimpses of the previous series that we've had from her. So we had a cameo from a character in Chestnut Springs in here, which was really fun. And then I think we've had some setup for the next series that Elsie Silver's going to write, which I'm really excited for. So yeah, that is this series done, so I'm really happy with that. Hey guys, so I'm just checking back in. I am about halfway through the next book for this reading vlog, which is Human Rights by Juno Dawson. This is the third and, as far as I'm aware, final book in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series. So in Her Majesty's Royal Coven, we have a group of friends who, well, they were friends back when they were younger, and they're now 4 grown-up women. So we have Helena, Elle, Leonie and Neve, and back when they were teenagers they were all really good friends, and they are witches and they were coming into their powers and things like that. And as they've gotten older, they've gone their own ways. So Helena is the High Priestess of Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which Her Majesty's Royal Coven was founded by Anne Boleyn, and it's Anne Boleyn's Coven of Witches. Neve has turned her back on the coven, and so has Leonie, and so has Elle. They just want to sort of live their life. So Neve is a vet. Leonie is the High Priestess of her own coven. She wants more representation in the world, in the government, in Her Majesty's Royal Coven of Black Queer Women, and then Elle is she's just sort of turned her back on the coven because she just wants to live a normal life with her husband and her children. So at the beginning of the book we're introduced to all these characters, and a prophecy is foretold where basically the sullied child will bring about the end of days, and Helena thinks she's found what she believes to be the sullied child, and she contacts Neve and asks if Neve can basically help rehabilitate this child. And when Neve meets this child, not everything is kind of as Helena described, and then we kind of go from there, and things have happened in the past that we reflect back on, and it turns out things in the past aren't as buried as we are made to believe, and then the four women are kind of reunited because of this sullied child, and things are going on that draws them all back together. So that's all I can really say about this series so far, because obviously we're in the third book now and I don't want to spoil anything, but essentially where we are in this book is I think the action is just about to start ramping up. So the first sort of 200 odd pages have been a lot of sort of reminders of where all our characters are, kind of what's happened in the series so far, and just sort of set up to I guess where we're now going. We've had just something quite important happen, obviously I'm not going to say, but I am enjoying this one so far. It's a very quick read, this series. I find myself, you know, turning the pages very quickly, very engaging, and it's really interesting as well. I love the fact that it's set in the UK and we have like it's set up in Yorkshire, and I like that we've had a little bit of crossover with the American coven, which is the CIA, which is Covens International something, and then we've had a bit from one of the German covens as well, just like little brief appearances because of things that have happened. If you read this book, obviously, if you've read the series, you probably kind of guess what's happened, and I'm really interested to see where we're going to go, because all of our characters seem like their stories are on the verge of wrapping up hopefully, and I'm really interested to see where they all end up, because it seems like some of these sort of bad characters are kind of aiming for a redemption arc, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest with you, because some of them have done quite unforgivable things, but I am interested to see where it goes. I have really been enjoying this series so far. Like Her Majesty's Royal Coven really took me by surprise with how much I enjoyed it, and the same with the second book, The Shadow Cabinet. So I am trusting Juno Dawson where she's taking this, and I hope it wraps up really well. So I'm going to carry on reading this one. I can't really say too much else about it. Like I said, it's the third book in the series. I really struggle to like give synopsis of the later books in the series. I'm really enjoying like the vibes of this one with like the witchiness, and it's just so British as well. It makes me laugh quite a bit. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this one so far, so I'm going to carry on with this one and hopefully get this one finished today, but we shall see. Hey guys, so it has been a few days as I've not been very well, but I did end up finishing Human Rights by Juno Dawson, and I really enjoyed this one, so I'm going to give this one a 4-star rating. I feel like this was a really solid end to the series. It wrapped up really well. There wasn't any issues with the pacing or anything like that. This didn't leave any loose ends, which I'm really happy with. It just wasn't quite a 5-star sort of feeling for me. I think that some of the characters maybe just lacked a little bit of depth. I'm not really sure what the issue was with this book, to be honest with you. It just wasn't a 5-star feeling. It still was really good, and I would highly recommend this series if it sounds interesting to you. This definitely took me by surprise, and I ended up enjoying this series a lot more than I thought I would have. I probably wouldn't have given it a shot if it didn't come in a Fairy Loot. So this is actually one of the Fairy Loot books that I'm glad that I did end up receiving, or at least the first one anyway, that was in one of the book boxes. But yeah, this one was really good, and I would highly recommend if you haven't read it. Hey guys, so I have now started the final book for this vlog, which is The Wisdom of Crowds by Jo Abercrombie. This is the third book in the Age of Madness trilogy and the 10th book in the First Law series overall. So I can't really tell you the plot synopsis of this one because, as I said, it's the third book in a series and the 10th in an overarching collection of series. But essentially this is the Industrial Revolution era of this world, and we follow a selection of characters, some from the very first trilogy and some new ones, some descendants of the characters in the first series primarily. And this is basically a pretty classic fantasy series. It's quite dark. We do have scenes of like torture, we have talks of like hangings and beheadings and limb loss and things like that, so do be wary of that going in. It's very dark, and Jo Abercrombie doesn't sort of mince his words. You do sort of read everything that happens, but essentially this is the culmination of years and years of dissent and distrust and everything that's been going on in this world. So the first sort of 180 pages that I've read so far, a lot has happened actually. I found that the second book was very slow at the beginning, and then we did sort of pick up into a battle near the end, and the battle ended and we basically pick up straight after that, and very quickly what happened in the battle is kind of almost undone, or things happen that have thrown this kingdom off and thrown the Union off. The Union is in trouble and everyone thinks they can do a better job at being in charge of the Union, and it turns out actually that maybe the monarchy wasn't the best, but maybe it isn't as bad as what they currently now have. I'm very interested to see where this is going to end up. I do maybe think, are we going to just kind of recycle the plot from the first trilogy again? But I'm not sure. We seem to have a lot more going on and a lot more clue into what's going on in like the north, for example. So we have a separate kingdom whose fate seems to be coinciding with what's happening in the Union, and some of the key players from the first books we haven't really heard from yet, and I'm really interested to see where this is going to go. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Like I said, I'm not sure if we're going to recycle the plot or if we're going to go in a new direction, but I trust Joe Abercrombie and his writing. Like, I've really enjoyed everything in the first law so far, and I'm hoping that I really end up enjoying this one. So I'm going to carry on reading and we'll see what happens. Like I said, a lot has happened, and I think we're going to sort of slow down a little bit now, and there's going to be a lot of politicking, a lot of back and forth before we go into sort of the last bit where we're going to basically resolve what's happened. So I'm interested to see where this is going to go, and I will check back in when I'm maybe a bit further through. I'm not sure when I'll check in again, but yeah, I'm excited to carry on with this one. So I am now a bit further through this book. I've just gotten past the next part of this book, so I'm on page 339 and we're in the ending of this book now. So we've definitely had a lot of politicking and a lot of betrayals. No one can trust each other, and it's just really interesting actually how everyone in this world, no one trusts anyone, and like they make alliances, they agree to do things, and everyone just turns their backs and is out for their own gain really. And it's kind of like interesting to read that, because you never know what's going to happen, and then when on the odd occasion that people actually stick to their alliances, you're like, huh? But this has gotten really interesting. We've had quite a few betrayals and things like that. We've just had a bit of a battle scene as well, which I wasn't really expecting, but I enjoyed the outcome of that, and I'm interested to see how that's going to affect the rest of the Union and how that's going to play a part in the finale of this book. But yeah, I'm still really enjoying it, getting really into the depth of the story now, and I think we're going to get to the point where I'm not going to want to put this book down. So I'm hoping to get this finished today. It is just over 520 something pages, 526 pages long, so I've got about just under 200 pages left. So I'm hoping to get this one finished, and I will come and give you my final thoughts when I have them. But yeah, really enjoying this. I'm loving where all our characters are ending up, and like the journey that they've been on since book 1 to this book, and even some of them from book 1 of the First Law series in total, like we're 10 books in now. The growth for some of these characters just sensational. But yeah, really enjoying this one so far. Hey guys, so I'm just coming in with the final reading update for this vlog. I have now finished The Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie, and I absolutely loved this. This is a 5-star for me. Absolutely fantastic series, fantastic world overall. I would highly recommend this series if you haven't read it. I think I'm a bit late to the game with Joe Abercrombie, but yeah, this didn't go the way I was expecting. This really took me by surprise. I really didn't think, I mean, Joe Abercrombie does take you by surprise, and it's a kind of a bit like Game of Thrones, that you think that characters are safe because they're quite an important character, and actually it doesn't always go that way. And even, you know, 10 books in with him, I'm still shocked by that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a fantastic conclusion to this trilogy, and where we are in the First Law right now, I think if he does write more, which I think he's going to, I think it's going to go in a very interesting direction, and just not what I was expecting at all. And yeah, just absolutely fantastic. Amazing writing, amazing battles, amazing fight scenes, just absolutely amazing. So yeah, 5 stars for this one. I'm very happy that I've now read this one. So that is going to be it for this reading vlog, where I have finished 4 series that I was in the middle of, I guess, or near at the end of. So comment down below if you've read any of these series. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.